Now you can search for new episodes by subject matter at londonreal.tv. Brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform we use at London Real. Todd, where do we go from here? I mean, how can we change any of this? I mean, how can we change the next administration believing that they have these rights, to target these individuals, to continue a lot of this behavior?
Well, I think a big first step is just realizing how dangerous it is. I'm not for a moment saying that President Obama would use these legal arguments to the most extreme case, although I did write an article on how it might be, without more transparency, how the drone warfare is almost resembling the Phoenix program out of Vietnam, where we were killing civilians, where civilians were deliberately being killed because the theory was, under counterinsurgency, was that they were the infrastructure providing support to the actual Viet Cong. So we weren't killing the Viet Cong, or they would have been surplusage, but we were killing the civilians that sort of we allege who were supporting them, and that means family groups, other villagers, etc. And that was put into the church committee and deplored and condemned. So we're, it has to be asked, and I actually have seen a couple of military officers who've written, at least one who on my site, say, yeah, maybe this is back in 2005, maybe we need to adopt something like the Phoenix program again. And I spoke with somebody the other day and was sort of saying, how many these civilians, that are being killed, are questionable, that they might have just been exercising some sort of dissent from what we're doing. And
all right, so it's dangerous territory here.
So I'll leave it it's very dangerous.
So you want to educate people so they'll be aware of these things are happening and that they're just fundamentally unconstitutional.
Exactly. Fundamentally unconstitutional and inviolative of international treaties, the Geneva Conventions and human rights law.
Okay, now from here, where does Edward Snowden fit into this whole picture? Because I know in your Institute for the Study of American Militarism, and you talk a lot about the First Amendment and how that is an important thing to talk about when it comes to all the trickle-down consequences and how that affects how our military
let me be clear,
behaves.
The Institute for the Study of American Militarism is something that's been incorporated. We'll see where this goes. So it's really nothing organized at this point other than having a corporate name. But there are a number of people who have already said they'd be associated with people who, we have, who are very credible and have a lot of respect in the community of national security. And there's a book I mentioned already, The Family Jewels, and it talks about surveillance. And I could go on about what surveillance ultimately means. It really is about tracking dissenters. So my understanding is that Bradley Manning, Edward Snowden, they both tried going through the chains of command, to bring this to the attention and get some notice that, wait a minute, we're violating the law here. And in both those cases, they were dismissed, we don't want to talk about this. So they ended up going and resorting to the means that they did. But it is fundamental, as I say, for a democracy to have the right to know. And this has been so closely controlled, and the Bradley Manning has shown the consequences of what happens if you reveal it. And there's other whistleblowers who have too, all of whom pay a huge price in various ways, which I believe has the additional intent of being made an example of, so that nobody else dares to reveal anything. But this book on the family jewels, it's all about this. Generally, what is done, and even what the United States now has in the courts of state secrets privileges, if you look at it factually, historically, it's more often to cover up criminality, dereliction of duty, or just plain negligence, which is what the original court case that was decided proved. When they finally did a FOIA Act request, Freedom of Information Act request, 30, 40 years later, and got some information, turned out what the United States was protecting as a state secret was merely negligence by the air crew that caused this, the plane that was the subject of the lawsuit to crash.
Was this, what was this, Vietnam?
No, this was shortly in the early 50s, I believe. I forget the exact name of the case now. It's been a long time since I even thought of it. But so some family members of the people who were killed brought a lawsuit, and the government protected itself, defended itself by claiming state secrets. And it turned out the only state secret was negligence by the air crew. And that's how it's been so often used, or more particularly as Family Jewel shows, and William Colby, the director of the CIA, admitted, was to cover up criminality. And it's not about protecting us. It's not about what we have now is this huge amount of information. And again, using this Hedges v. Obama lawsuit, and just speaking hypothetically, that let's say Hedges gets, the journalist who's this, named in who's bringing the lawsuit, reveals something more than what the security services want written, criticizing them, not revealing any classified information. And so they go back, and so easy now when you have all this information, you've captured all of his emails, all of his websites he's visited, and you can contrive a legal case, by weaving these things together, daisy chaining it in together to make something that, creating something that's legal, turning it into what appears to be illegal. Okay. This is extremely dangerous.
We take real pride in our websites and who we work with on the show, and those are the guys at Squarespace. They've been running our website londonreal.tv and our siliconreal.com for over a year now, and they are an all-in-one platform to make it fast and easy to build your own professional website or portfolio. These guys have the tech down. It's drag and drop. It is easy. I used to run a WordPress site, and I used to have to FTP audio files and all this nonsense. And now when you see these blogs that I write every week where I talk to you about my personal impressions of the guests, I literally just bust those out, drop the picture in, boom, and it's done.